Hello, so in this part we are going to look at giving our monsters some health bars and also giving our player some lives and some little heart icons to represent the lives. Let's get to it. Okay, so making health bars in GameMaker is actually really quite straightforward. There's a function called draw health bar that does all the work for you. I'm just going to show you how to use it. So let's go into our monster object. And since we're going to be drawing the health bar, we want to go into the draw event. So let's get this open. And just like before, whenever you open up a draw event, you need to make sure you type in the code draw self, because whenever you open up a new draw event, you override the default, which already has this code. So this is drawing the monster. And next, we're going to use the draw health bar command. So draw health bar, and you can see down here that there's a whole bunch of inputs that we need to give this. So we're going to go through each of these. To begin with, there's x1, y1 and x2, y2. This is the top left and the bottom right of the health bar. You're basically drawing a rectangle for the health bar, and these are the coordinates. So instead of just putting like x minus, I don't know, 5, instead of putting them directly in there, I'm gonna create some temporary variables for us to do like any calculations we need for the variables, and then we can just put them straight in here. So if I call this first one xx1 and var yy1, so let's say we want the health bar to be 10 pixels wide. We're gonna go 5 pixels to the left on the x, so x minus 5, and say xx2 will be x plus 5. So again, this is the top left, and this will be the bottom right. For the y coordinates, I want it to be above the monster, and I want there to be a couple pixels gap between the monster and the health bar, and I want the actual health bar to be a couple pixels wide too. So in order to find the coordinate of the very top of the monster, you can use bbox top, which gives you the y coordinate of the very top of the monster sprite, and I want to go above that sum, so let's say minus 5. So that's 5 pixels above the monster for the top left. And for the bottom right, let's say bbox top minus 3. So this will make our health bar 2 pixels thick, and it's also going to be hovering 3 pixels above the monster. So now I can just feed in these variables into the draw health bar. So xx1, yy1, xx2, yy2. The next input is the amount. So let me middle click on this to open up the help. And here you can see the amount is the variable which defines the total health. And it has to be between 0 and 100. So let me make a temporary variable for the amount here as well. I'm going to just use 2 A's to separate it from anything else. And the best way to convert the monster's health into a percentage is to take make it a fraction of its current health divided by its max health, and then just times that by 100. So if let's comment that and go into the create event here. So here, if instead of setting HP equal to 1, let's say max HP equals 1, and then to initialize HP, we just say equals max HP. And actually let's change this to be like 3. So now if we go in here, let's make that fraction. So we want current health, which is our HP, divided by our max health, which is max HP, and then multiply that by 100. So now I can put that into the command here. And next we have the back call, which stands for the background color of the health bar. I'm going to make that black with C black. Then we've got min call and max call. So this is the minimum color and the max color. So basically whenever your health bar is full, it will be this color. And then whenever it goes down, it will fade to be this color. So you can have it, say, be green when it's full, and then as your health goes down, it'll like fade into red. Or if you don't want it to change color at all, you can just have both of these be the same. I'm gonna have it be red when it's low, so the min call will be C red, and when your health is high, it'll be green, so C green for that. The direction, let's go into the help again. The direction, this is where the bar is anchored. So if I scroll down just a little bit, all of these ones here, they're anchored to the left. Here would be anchored to the right. This is to the top and this is to the bottom. So it's like where the health bar goes. And you have to put in 0, 1, 2, or 3. If I want it to be left like this, I have to put in 0. So let's put that in. Then next we have show back, which means show the background, this black color. And if we said true, then it will show the background. And if we say false, then there will be no background and you won't use this black color. I want it to be true. And then lastly, show border. So this will decide whether the bar will have a 1 pixel wide black border, and it's true or false. I'm going to say false for that, but you can do whatever you like. And now that we've done that, our monsters are going to have their very own health bar if we run the game. And there you have it. So I must have gotten rid of the tower at some point there, so let me put a tower back in the room and you'll be able to see the health go down and the color change too. So let's run this once more. And there you go. It's quite effective, it looks good, I like it. Okay, so the next thing I want to add is player lives. So basically whenever our monsters travel all the way along the path, and if they get to the end and you haven't killed them, then you're going to lose a life and the monster will be destroyed over here. So let's go into the monster here and go into the step event. Whenever he is at the end, how do we know if the monster's at the end of the path or not? There is a built-in function called path position, and this value will go between 0 and 1. It will be 0 whenever he starts over here, and then it will go up all the way to 1 whenever he's at the end. So say you're here in the middle, it'll be 0.5, 0.25 around here or so, 0.75 about here maybe. So what we'll do is we'll check if path position equals 1, that means we're at the end, and then we will destroy the monster and take away one of our players' lives. So if path position equals 1, then we want to destroy the monster with instance destroy, and we also want to take 1 away from lives. So haven't you seen this before? Lives is a built-in global variable that can be accessed by every object in the game. It's very handy for a situation like this. Using lives, it means you don't need to like access another object just to see how many lives we've got left. However, we haven't actually given our player any lives to begin with, so this will just start going into the negative immediately. So let's create a player object and it will initialize our lives to be, let's say we start with 5 lives. So let's create an object, call it object player, and in the create event, it's not going to have a sprite here. In the create event, let's say lives equals 5. Now I want to make sure that the object is in the room. So I'm going to drag the player object up here. And I want there to be an indication on the screen that tells the player how many lives we have. So say we'll have like some hearts, and each heart will represent 1 life. So the first step here is to actually draw these little heart icons. So let me create a new sprite, call it SPR heart icon, and let me draw this quickly. Okay, so here's our little heart icon. Let me just get rid of the edges here using auto trim all frames. So now we've got our heart icon. The last thing we want to do is draw 1 heart for each life that we have. And we're gonna do this in the player object here. And again, because we're drawing things, we're gonna do it in the draw event. Now, the line of code to do this is actually very short. We're going to use a for loop, and if you haven't used for loops before, they can seem a little bit complicated, especially just how they're written down looks a bit funny, but they're not very complicated at all, actually. So basically what we're going to do is for each life, we're going to draw a heart. That's basically how the for loop works. So if we write for, and I create a temporary variable, I'm going to call it 0. I is basically a counter, and you'll see how it works in just 1 second. And for as long as I, which is our counter, is less than our lives, then we're going to draw a heart, right? And then at the end of the loop, we will increase I, and we will check to see if we need to keep drawing another heart until I gets to be bigger than our number of lives, and then you won't be drawing any more hearts. So in here, we want to draw a heart icon, so we want to draw the sprite, but our player doesn't actually have a sprite here. So we're not going to use draw self. We're going to use something called draw sprite, and whenever you draw a sprite, you tell it which sprite you want to draw, which is the SPR heart icon. You give it a sub image, and the sub image is basically in the monster here. You've got 2 sub images. It's like which frame, and this is sub image 0 and this is sub image 1, but our heart icon only has 1 frame here, so this is actually sub image 0 because it starts to count at 0. So the sub image of this function here, we will say 0, and then you give it the X and Y position of where you want the hearts to be. So just like before, I'm going to create some temporary variables for us to decide where we want to place them. I'll call it XX and YY, and then we can just fill those into the function here. So if I want to draw this in the bottom left of the screen, it will be, say, 10 pixels in from the left, and then here we want it to be 10 pixels up. So that's going to be room height -10, because room height is the bottom of your screen, and then you want to go 10 pixels up from that, so you take 10 away. Now I can fill those into the function, and if we run this now, this is only going to draw what looks like 1 heart in the bottom left of the screen. So here it is here. It's actually drawing all 5, but they're all on top of each other. So what we want to happen is we want them to be beside each other. So we need to decide how much of a gap we want to leave between them. I'm going to create another variable for this. Say, I'm going to call it buffer. And if I want them all to be touching, then I will use the width of this sprite. And I can't just use sprite width because our player doesn't actually have a sprite to use the sprite width. I need to use something called sprite get width. And then I can choose which of these I want to get the width of. And then we're going to use the sprite heart icon. So now the buffer is the width of the heart. Whenever we're deciding the X position in here, we're gonna put the X position to be 10 plus the buffer. And a good little trick to do this is you put in here plus I times buffer. This means that whenever we're drawing the first one, it's not going to add anything because I is 0, but the next time you run it, I is going to be 1, so you're going to add 1 times the sprite width, and when it's 2, it'll be 2 times the sprite width. So each time you draw a heart, it's going to be further and further to the right. So if we run that, you'll see that they'll all be right beside each other. And there they are there, they look pretty good. If you wanted there to be a little bit more of a gap in between them, you could just say plus 2, and that's going to give you 2 pixels between your hearts. There you go, they're a little bit more separated there. And let's now get rid of that tower, and we will see the hearts go down whenever our monsters reach the end of the room there. I might speed this up because it'll take a while. Okay, so the first one's about to leave the room, and now our hearts should go down, and down here, yes, they're going down nicely. We've got 3 lives, we've got 2 lives, we've got 1 life, and now we've lost all our lives. So obviously, eventually, we will end the game or restart the game whenever you lose all your lives. But for now, I think we've done a good job there. So in the next part, I want to fix up our tower's targeting a little bit, and I'll show you why. Because at the moment, our tower is focusing the nearest monster to it. But what this means is if there's monsters coming down here and then there's monsters going up here, you're more likely to want to target the ones that are closer to the end rather than the ones that are closest. So let me quickly change how this path is drawn, and I'll just demonstrate quickly why I think this is an issue as it stands and why we're going to need to fix it. Okay, so if I run the game like this, as the monsters come down here, all is good. However, these ones are getting away on low health even though they're in range, technically. And, well, the tower's missing them anyway. But you could see how it was aiming at these ones at the left, even though there were some getting away over here. So we're going to fix that, change how our tower targets, and it's going to instead look to see which monster is the furthest along the path, rather than which monster is the closest. Seems quite simple, but takes a little bit of thinking just to get the code working. So, as always, I hope that this part has been useful, you've learned something, and I will hopefully see you in the next one. Peace.